Good morning, people of YouTubes. We're back on the Metro again now. In the last video of the Metro, we got all the wiring pretty much sorted, got it running, but it was running really poorly. So I'll explain a little bit more in that in a second. I've literally done everything on the car now to get it back on the road so we can drive it down the road, which is the next step. So yeah, again, I'll explain all the bits that I've done, and I haven't filmed any of it because in the last video I did explain that I just wanted to get on with it, but I did take some photos, so I'll inlay some photos as we're going along. So we'll start off with the running issue. Now, after checking all my wiring many times, and come to the conclusion that it was all fine, changed coil packs, spark plugs, injectors were fine because they were chucking fuel in left, right and centre. All the sensors were reading good. So I just happened to literally bring up all the values on the computer, on the diagnostic computer, and just trying to wrap my brain why it was misfiring. And the air fuel ratio gauge was running at 10.0, and when I turn this down, it normally runs at about 3 bar idle, but when I turned it down to about half a bar, it then started to smooth out. So it's definitely a fueling issue that was causing that. So it was just trying to figure out why. But on the actual values, that gives you a ECU voltage, and that was only reading 1 volt. And I was like, that's a bit bizarre. Anyway, there's a couple of, if you look on the wiring diagrams, a couple of lives, ignitions and earths. And it happens that I forgot one of the lives. I left it in the plug, in the old plug that was on the old loom, to remind me that I needed to put it in, but I still forgot. But yeah, I've put that in and it is now running as it should. Well, I say as it should. I'll start it up. So there you go, all running nice and smoothly now. So that was that bit done. I was happy with that. That revs nicely as well. So it's just a case of getting everything else buttoned up. So while I was messing around with the wiring, I was fitting all these charge cooler pipes. I don't know if I've covered this or not. Probably not. I've been updating my Instagram and Facebook quite a bit, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be repeating myself in the videos from the last video, or I'm just thinking that I've just put it on Instagram. But yeah, we've got the charge cooler pipes in now. We're still running the old charge cooler because I want to dyno it with the entire setup as it came. So yeah, they're all in. A bleed screw there, I don't think that's necessary, but I did find that I did have to take that cap off and bleed this entire charge cooler because the coolant was only getting to like where the pipe goes into. So I had to take that cap off to then get it so it covers the whole charge cooler, or not sure if it's evaporator or condenser or heat exchanger is what I was after. So yeah, we've got the cold fluid coming in from the tank at the back, goes in, out into the heat exchanger and then back out. Obviously that then cools it back down before sending it back to the tank again. You probably just see we've got the pipes in there and they go all the way around the back. And into the ice box. So yeah, I've upgraded the pump as well, purely because the old pump didn't work when I plumbed it all back in again. I'm pretty sure that worked when I first got the car. That was controlled by the heater fan switch. So you put it on speed 1 and that then started the pump in theory. But when I plumbed it all back in again, that didn't work. So I've upgraded it with this Bosch style uprated one. I think they come off a Jaguar, I think. XKR, not entirely sure. But yeah, I got that. And plumbed all that in with a nice little bracket and all the nice little fly lead and stuff like that. Charge cooler box, so it's filled up halfway with coolant at the minute. So when we go to the drag strip, we can stick in a bag of ice and that'd be fine. And if it gets a little bit too full, I'll put a drain tap in there and that'll just drain it out onto the floor. So yeah, that's that. Battery, fuse box is all in. Yeah, fuel pump. I'm still waiting for a plate for that. I did get like a boat hatch, which everyone suggested, but I wasn't really too happy with that. It was very big and cumbersome. But what I did find on an MGF are these fuel pump covers. Now these aren't quite big enough. I think it's 8 inch. I need about 8.5 inch. But that will go over the top there like that. But I've ordered an 8.5 inch one, so that'll come all the way up to the edge of them round circle things. And same principle, a little bit of foam at the back, a couple of riv nuts, and that'll be done. So that's that bit. And while we're talking in the inside, I've got all the dash secured now, so that's all good. All the ECU is all secured, and then it's bracket and the painted that, so that's all good. The seat, just a standard seat that I managed to pick up. As a 4-door seat, so it hasn't got the foldy thing, but I'm not really too bothered about that because no one's getting in the back. And a new, I say new, it's a second-hand seat belt and a stalk, so the passenger has got some kind of safety, and obviously the driver's seat one that we know about, done a video on that. Switch panel, I've labelled up the centre switch as the only one that's active at the minute for charge cooling, but the other 2 switches are wired back into that fuse box, so if we need to go and put any accessories in, we can. Right, another thing, replaced the old Manky air filter, which was a Piper filter, but I think it come out of an enclosed system by the looks of it, and yeah, that was just old and manky and falling apart. So I got a nice little Pro-Ram filter on the original pipe that came with the car, so it's not really too secure at the minute, but we will be readdressing that at some point and possibly getting a second headlight, because it looks like that's got a nice big round hole in there for some nice cold air feeds for when we do drag racing. MGF wiper plate, it works. I need to do something with this, make a plate up or weld these holes up or do something with that. and along with that one, it didn't quite fit 100%, but that's good enough. Just need to remember not to leave it outside in the rain. Next thing was starter motor. Nice new starter motor, Bosch one. Sometimes you turn the key and it just clicked, weren't really doing anything and sounded quite weak, which I thought was the cable from the battery was really small cable. It helped to put the bigger cable in, but it still sounded quite weak. So new starter. Going along to the cooling system now, I've got my MGF pipes in there, with my elbow in there, because obviously we had the heater box in there, so there was a mess of pipes looped together around here, which I've done temporary until I got the MGF heater pipes. That's all in there now. I've got my loop in there. That's all bled through lovely and all gets nice and hot. Basically that just goes, this pipe here just goes to the back of the thermostat and to the bottom feed for the header tank. So there shouldn't be no reason why, because the header tank is higher than that there should be any trapped air in there whatsoever. Another thing that we've done was this pipe here. Beforehand it was rubber pipes, if I show you, wrapped up in gold tin foil basically, and they hung right above this manifold. So I've got some more pipes and managed to tuck it right up close to the radiator underneath this slam panel, and I've got some nice heat protective wrap on there from Funk Motorsport to keep them all nice and cool, shall we say. Although I did wish it was a little bit longer to cover this bit up here, because obviously we've got a little bit there, but it is silicone pipe, so, and this is the outlet, so I expect that to be hot anyway. But yeah, that's all done. What else have we done around here? The alternator. The charger light on the dash is very dim when you turn the ignition on, and also the alternator is very noisy. So I sucked it up and bought a new alternator, new belt. Unfortunately, I had to take off all the heat exchanger, the radiator, the bumper to get the alternator out, because you can't get it out through here, you can't get it out for the bottom, you can't get it out for the side or for the back air. So the only way to do it was take the radiator out basically. What else is there underneath the engine bay? The coolant tank. I've made some 1-inch standoffs because when that's bolted directly onto the bulkhead here, that was actually not bolted down properly because of the top shock tower of the TF subframe. So I just made some 1-inch standoffs just to raise it up a little bit, and that is good. I think that is pretty much it. Oh, the other thing is this intake pipe. That was a 2 3/4 to 2 1/2, and the pipe that I had was very hacked up, and that was a 2 3/4 to 2 3/4. So that clamp there was crushing right down trying to seal that. So we've got the nice new reducer in there to help prevent any leaks. Yeah, that is it under here. So if you're still watching, there will be some action going on in a minute. Sorry, it's a little bit of an update video, shall we say, of what has happened. The wheel studs. I've changed the wheel studs all round, and I did buy some wheel adapters for the front wheels to run the old mini wheels that had the semi-slicks on them for going down the drag strip. Unfortunately, the studs fouled the the wheels, and without cutting the studs down, which I weren't prepared to do, because I still want to put these wheels on afterwards and to drive it on the road, or to grind a little bit out of the wheel. Again, I don't really want to do that. So I've ordered a set of super lights for the front in a 7J wide. I did want to try and get these in a 7J, but unfortunately John Brown wheels don't do them in a 7J, only 6. So I've had to order a couple of super lights in 7J with the 4x 95.25 PCD. Right, I think that is pretty much it for updates. Yes, a couple of other little things I've done underneath, which was to remove the old hydrogas lines, a gearbox bracket which was still on there for some bizarre reason. I don't know why that was on there. This thing here that's just dangling and grinding on the road. Yeah, so I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to drive it home, then we should be able to, hopefully if I make it home, I will give it a bath, give it a little bit of a clean, and then after that I'm going to see if I can book in a dyno run with my local guy and see what power it makes. So let me get out of the workshop, let me set up the GoPro, and then we will head home. Right, as you can see, I've got the car back, and it's pretty faultlessly, really. I didn't really go too mad, just because you don't know what's going to happen or fall off. So I gave a couple of little tiny fourth gear pulls, and that was fine. So I brought it back and given it a bit of a wash, because that's been stood outside for ages. So yeah, it's looking a lot more presentable. It's going to need a bit of a decontamination wash because there's a lot of pollen spots on the roof. I don't know if you can see any of that, but yeah, that needs a good old decontamination wash, but it's no show car anyway. So yeah, the only problem that I did have is that there's always stunk of fuel inside, and it's obviously had the bit that was cut out of here put on. But I've just took it off and left it off, but you can see that was full of silicone. Underneath there was all this like browny stuff, almost looked like biscuit crumbs, but yeah, that was all filled with silicone, and when I turned the car off when I got in, that was all like hissing out of there. I guess because of the pressure in the tank. It has got the pressure valve, or the little pipe for venting, shall I say, still in the engine bay, so it shouldn't be creating any sort of pressure inside the tank. That is quite hot, it's about 30 degrees today. So yeah, I've just pulled off this bit of silicone down there. I'm just going to vacuum all this out and see where it's actually leaking from. So yeah, let me do that and then we'll come back to you. Right, as you can probably see, I've hoovered all that out. I had it started, but it didn't come up with anything. But I've just shook the car and it's literally started pouring out. So I'm going to say it's because I've got I've got over 3/4 a tank of fuel in it. So it's probably just coming through the terminals, and I guess once there's some kind of pressure inside the tank, it then forces itself out of there anyway. So yeah, not really too sure what I'm going to do with that. I don't think there's anything that I could stick in there that's fuel resistant that will stay in there. So I'm going to have to do some research. If not, I'm going to have to see if I can get hold of a pump assembly thing, if you know what I mean. That whole bit there, the whole pump sender thing. So yeah, I'm going to crack on, do some research, because I can't go to the dyno with it leaking fuel. So I'm going to sort that out, and then hopefully in a couple of days time we should be able to get down to the dyno. So we will see you then, and I'll give you an update on this situation. Right, fuel leak is fixed. Basically I bought some marine grade JB Weld because it literally says it's petroleum safe. So hopefully it won't leak any water. It comes into 2 tubes. I'll stick a picture on the screen of what it is, but it comes in 2 tubes. You mix 1 to 1 basically, and I just used a small stick to shove it in the hole basically, and yeah, just work it around all the terminals and all is good. That is nice and solid. It says to leave for 24 hours, but I've actually left it for probably about a day and a half now, so 36 hours or so, maybe a little bit more, not really counting time, but I've left it long enough. I've shaken the car around and stuff, and there's no more fuel coming out of that area, so we'll call that a win. And also I have got a nice bit of stainless steel plate, and that will go on top of that perfectly. So all I need to do is drill. I'm going to drill 4 holes, might make it 6, I don't know, I think 4 is plenty enough. Drill 4 holes, put some rivet nuts in and some double-sided foam on the back, and then set that in place. So I'll do that off camera and I'll update you in another video, but that is a 220mm round plate I've just got off eBay. I think it's a stainless steel one, and I went for a 2mm thick section, but thinking about it, I think a 1mm would be plenty enough because it's got quite a bit of weight in that. So yes, I was going to put the dyno video into this one, but I think the video is getting long enough now, so I'll do that in a separate video. So for now I will call it a day. I'll edit this video, get it out to you, and that gives you something to look forward to in a future video. And obviously in that video I'll then update you on that plate. So for now I'm going to say see you later.